Networking is a skill that many entrepreneurs are utilizing to grow their business. Let me go networking, let me get referrals. However, this idea of networking and referrals is not something that most people know how to do naturally. It's a learned skill. So we have to figure out, okay, how do I do this networking thing? And we've got to learn from somewhere. And so one of my favorite networking organizations, BNI, takes this to the next level. Not only do they encourage networking and referral marketing, making some amazing relationships, they also have this educational coordinator position within the chapter, and each and every meeting has an educational moment. And what we're doing here today is talking a little bit about the BNI Educational Coordinator role and the educational moment within the chapter. Now, as you're watching this, we would love to hear from you if we are live. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment on LinkedIn. If you are on Facebook, do note I've got the, you know what it's called. They're on the link. They're on the screen. So if you want to talk to us on Facebook, we would love for you to do that. Though do go to https:/chat.restream.io/FB. That will actually sync your Facebook and your Restream, because we would love to hear from you as we go through today. So again, leave your comment. And if you don't feel like going to that website, totally fine. Just please leave your name in the comment as well. And that way we can share from you. So we're excited to see you here live. Or if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, hello. Just a little overview. We've got several topics that we're going to cover today. The first being, what is the BNI Educational Coordinator? And the gentleman that introduced me into BNI, or at least was the influence when I got into BNI, will be sharing a little bit about that today. Where did the BNI Educational Coordinator come from? How did that get started? Who can be a great educational coordinator? And then some of the meatier questions. We've got a few people joining us. Where do you get your ideas? As well as, do we delegate? What's your favorite part of being an educational coordinator? So we've got a jam-packed time here. Again, we would love to hear your thoughts to these questions as we get to them into the comments. Or if you're on YouTube, feel free to skip ahead to that. So our first question that we're going to look at is, what is the BNI Educational Coordinator? And I have Mr. Tom Fleming that I am bringing in here to help us out with this idea of what is the BNI Educational Coordinator. So, Mr. Fleming, I am going to turn this over to you.
Okay. Well, first, when I first got in BNI, I had no idea what an educational coordinator was because there wasn't one. Back in 1996, there was no such thing as an educational coordinator. And a few years thereafter, Dr. Meisner and what's called the Board of Advisors for BNI, which is made up of members, decided to add an educational moment into the BNI meeting agenda. The reason for this, well, as we all know, and we talk about in BNI and Ascentive, networking is a learned skill. Absolutely. There are strategies, concepts, ideas, and initiatives that you can take to refine and be more efficient and effective in your networking. So networking is a learned skill. Also, about that time, BNI was coming up with a prolific amount of educational material for members because networking is a learned skill. We relied primarily early on information from Dr. Meisner's books. We relied primarily from information in BNI conference presentations. I remember giving out for door prizes for many years, BNI conference CDs to members and educational coordinators. Then we had the information come about from Ascentive, where people did not share the wisdom and the concepts and the ideas within the Ascentive programs, but they did promote the involvement of their fellow members into those programs so that their fellow members could be as educated as they are, and everybody in their chapter could be playing the right or the same level of game. Another reason why the BNI Educational Coordinator position was created is because back in the day, we would have presidents and vice presidents stand in front of the room and pound on the table and say, come on, guys, we've got to pass more referrals. We've got to invite more visitors. And they were seen as a little bit of a dictator or an ogre, if you will, attempting to inspire, but more requiring. And so the educational coordinator spot was created so that the inspiration for more referrals and more visitors would come more from hey, this is how we do this. You all can do it. More inspirational message than people pounding on the table in front of the room, demanding more referrals and visitors.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, Tom. I love this idea of the BNI educational moment of here's somebody else in the chapter that gets the opportunity to share. And I think that educational moment spot really helps dictate the rest of the energy for the rest of the meeting. I mean, you've been to a couple of BNI meetings over the years, right?
Yeah, I mean, if the educational coordinator is reading the educational moment, not exciting. If they're sharing something from the heart, or better, they're picking that person who passed the most referrals last month or brought the most visitors last month, and they're asking that person to share with the chapter. How do you do that? I think that makes a very effective educational moment, but I know we're going to get to that topic in a moment.
Yes, we will. Though our first comment in, they didn't tell me who they were, this Facebook user, but there's Tom with some exclamation points. So Tom, it looks like you've got some love coming from our live audience. Aww. Yes, social media comments displayed here. So be sure to leave your comments. We would love to hear them. So we've kind of talked about where it came from. What is the educational moment? On all of that? Anything else you want to add to those conversations so far before we move on?
Well, just quickly, I think the BNI educational system has evolved even further beyond Ivan Meisner's books, BNI conference presentations, an incentive. I know you and I for years, and a couple of other people, we created the advanced trainings here in the Tampa and West Central Florida area that educational coordinators were to use as moments. And then the whole concept of business builder is now out there with just hundreds and thousands of hours of educational material. So learn more to earn more. And again, one of BNI and Incentive's core values is be a lifelong learner. In fact, if you want to get some insights around that, visit my Facebook page, just Tom Fleming. I posted about that today, or yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
I know for those of you that are watching this that know Tom, he has become much more prolific over the last year or so with his engagement and his activity in Facebook. So we love seeing that, Tom, so much so. And it was interesting. I remember, so I first got involved in BNI in 2005. And I want to say there were like 4 books, a new member orientation CD, and then your CD, Who Can Pass You Business All Day, Every Day. And I think that was about the extent of the library when I got involved in BNI. What did it look like? Well, when did you get into BNI, and what did your library look like back then? Or maybe not library, but offerings.
There in 1996, there was Dr. Meisner's books, of which he had 3, I think. The World's Best Known Marketing Secret, Business by Referral, and something about memory hooks, which he's not a proponent of anymore, but I like memory hooks, gosh darn it.
That's a different video for a different day, I think. So one other question that we wanted to ask, and then we've got a couple educational coordinators that are joining us here as well, is who is the educational coordinator, or maybe more so, what makes an amazing educational coordinator?
Can I answer that?
Yes. Well, yeah, you're answering this one.
Oh, okay. Well, my list is not an all-inclusive list. I have some wisdom around this conversation, but I'm not the one all and be all of this conversation. I think the ideal educational coordinator is a member of influence in your chapter, meaning when they speak, people listen. And I think that person needs to be committed to education. I think they need to be authentically generating CEUs and implementing what they've learned in their CEUs, their chapter educational units, on a weekly, monthly, annual basis. Because their responsibility is twofold. It's to inspire the members to become more educated, whether they're recommending business builder sessions to participate in, incentive classes to participate in, advanced trainings to participate in, books to read. But they are also the voice of the leadership team. I think the educational coordinator needs to be working very closely with the president, vice president, and membership committee to find out and assess with the executive leadership team, what's the pulse of the chapter? What are the members doing extremely well right now so we can celebrate that? And where do we need to focus our educational moments over the coming month or two to help raise the bar? So those are my 2 cents with respect to who makes a great educational coordinator. Also, obviously, someone who's can string a couple of sentences together, unlike I'm doing right now.
Well, I was gonna say, I remember part of when I was the educational coordinator, which is my number 2 favorite role. So I've held almost every role in BNI. President's my first. I just like to be in charge and in front of the room. So, of course that works. Then educational coordinator. And then what used to be called the reviews champion in BNI. It's got a new name now, but I love doing the reviews to help work with members to get better with education. I'd be like, here's where you need help and here's the education. But I do remember the leadership team meetings and, okay, what educational moments do you need from me, president, vice president? And then we have somebody else who also liked the educational moment role. So Sarah is joining us. Say hi to Sarah, y'all. So you were saying that the educational coordinator was your number 1 favorite role as well? You're muted. Oops.
It was.
Okay.
It was, I worked very closely with the president on what kind of culture we were driving in the chapter. And I felt like the education coordinator can start those meetings off, driving the culture for that meeting in the right direction.
So
Gotcha.
good.
And Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, all that fun jazz.
Oh, my name is Sarah DeMonico with Remarkable Real Estate. I'm my chapter president in Tampa, and I'm a realtor.
Yeah, and if you can't tell, she's from Tampa. If you just look behind her, there's that Buccaneers flag. Oh, and guess who's coming back to the Bucks?
I know.
And we're also joined by, this is an interesting configuration that Restream has given us. Let's try it this way. There we go. Welcome, Dawn. Excited to have Dawn with us as well. I'm not going to put you on the spot and say which is your favorite role, Dawn, but did you enjoy being educational coordinator?
Well, if I didn't, I wouldn't have done it 2 straight years in a row. Although one was because the education coordinator left our chapter after a month and they asked me to fill in while I was secretary treasurer. So I did both of those roles at the same time.
I did that for like a week. And then it's like, no, time to give that away. I'll step away from the secretary treasurer, let somebody else do that. So awesome. Don, you want to tell us who you are, where you're coming from, all that fun stuff?
Sure. I'm Don Wheaton. I'm up here in metropolitan Detroit, where it's considerably cooler than where all of you are. And I'm an attorney in solo practice, and I do about 70% family law, and the rest is a mishmash of criminal, bankruptcy, and other things like that.
So we're glad to have you where we're coming from, where it's 86 degrees outside right now.
I don't want to talk about it. I really don't.
So for those of you on Facebook or LinkedIn, we'd love to hear what's the temperature like where you're at. We have a Facebook user. So if you're on Facebook, please tell us who you are when you're commenting so we can give you shout outs. Don, you are very popular. Like Tom, we've got some love going on. And we do have a Facebook user that is saying, love the president's role. So yeah, the president's role, the vice presidents are 2 of my favorite. How about you, Tom?
I got to go with the educational coordinator role because I do feel they make such an impact and do have such or can have such an influence on a chapter. My second favorite is probably the visitor host role, greeting members and visitors as they come in the room, getting them pumped up for the meeting that day.
Love it, love it. And what I love is we all are attracted to different roles. We in Incentive have a program called Room Full of Referrals, and I find different styles of people are attracted to different roles within the chapter for different reasons. Mm-hmm. All right, so our next question, as promised, where do you get your educational moment ideas? And we're going to do this kind of round robin because I think we probably all have some really great ideas. So you may hear from me and then Tom and then Don and then Sarah and then Don and then Tom. And so we may go back and forth. So we're just going to have them share one at a time. What are some of their favorite places to get their educational moment ideas? Who wants to start us off first? Sarah is up, and it works out because she's in our big position. There you go, Sarah. And you're muted again.
I got it. Sorry. I use that book, The 29% Solution, quite often to get a good idea to help people. I'll read one of those chapters, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can apply it to yourself inside and outside the chapter.
Gotcha. And I love the book. Tom, do you remember Dr. Meisner talking about how he originally was thinking that book could be like, here's 52 weekly educational moments or something in that nature?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hidden elements of that book that educational coordinators could use to go through with members, weekly educational moments. Great book. Was that the 29% solution or the book that he wrote with Mike Macedonio?
Truth or Delusions is the one he did with Mike.
Okay.
29% Solutions, the one he did with Michelle.
Yeah, okay. One of the two of them is specifically designed for educational coordinators, as well as people who just want to learn more to earn more.
Awesome. Well, Tom, you want to give us another place where you'd like to get educational moment content from?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that a good educational coordinator is, again, inspiring education. You've only got 3 minutes, 5 minutes. My intention was always to leave people wanting to know more. So I might share a tidbit of a concept with them out of an advanced training or a book or a podcast or an incentive class. Always letting them know, creating curiosity first, and then always letting them know where they could go to get more information.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's hard to get across a lot in 3 to 5 minutes. And I know here in our area, sometimes it was closer to 3 minutes than it is 5 minutes, depending on the size of your chapter. How many members do you have in your chapter currently, Sarah?
23.
23. Don, how about you?
We have 15.
Okay. So you may have time for the 5. I know Jason Avery, who is one of our incentive facilitators, their chapter has almost 100 members in it. They're getting 3 minutes. And so definitely is that snippet. And here's where you can go for more information. How about you, Don?
You can use all the BNI resources that come to you and that are out there. And there are tons, absolutely tons. The podcasts, you can use Truth or Delusion. I mean, Truth or Delusion is set up for that with nobody's business. You can just pick any one of the chapters. Boom, there's your educational moment. You adapt it. So it is 3 minutes or so. But one of the things that I like to do and did, especially my second year consecutively as the coordinator, was besides asking the leadership team, what do you need from me? If you don't give me any direction, I've got this idea. What do you think? And run it past them first. But what I like to do, Firefox, the browser, whenever you click into it and you got nothing on the, in the search bar, comes up Pocket. And Pocket has a bunch of different stories, and a lot of them are on self-improvement. And I would click on those. They're very quick articles, and they're very easily adaptable to business and networking and, helping you be a better person that is a better networker, et cetera. And it really clicked, and my chapter really enjoyed them.
That's interesting. I don't know that I've ever used Firefox, but it might be a reason to download it and try. Where else are you getting your educational moment ideas? These are amazing, amazing, amazing ideas so far. Sarah.
Podcasts.
So how do you do that? Because I think there's a couple different ways I've seen educational coordinators utilize the podcast. So how have you utilized it?
So sometimes it'll come up in the leadership team meeting where, like we were talking about people, so we're still virtual, and we were talking about people who are not engaged during the meetings. And, you can just put it in the search bar and multiple things will come up. Or we were starting to have a lot of visitors for a while that weren't joining. So I Googled, visitor experience and got a lot of those were some of the best ones. So really great ideas on how to improve the visitor experience. So the search bar in there is pretty good if an issue comes up, that you want to discuss with your education coordinator.
Great. Tiffany, we've got a lot of people on with us today, and they have a ton of wisdom, and I'd love for them to share in the comments what they feel are great resources for educational moments. For instance, one here says conference presentations are always provide amazing information for educational moments. And you all may not be familiar with this, but BNI has 2 annual conferences per year. One in the May-June timeframe, which is the United States National Conference, and then one in the November timeframe, which is the International Conference. And there are dozens, if not close to 100, the main stage presentations and breakout presentations at each of those conferences throughout BNI's 36, 37-year existence. And those sessions are all recorded, and they're done by the best of the best people who are fantastic educators, fantastic speakers in BNI across the world.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm remembering when. So back in the day, Tom would go to conference and would come back with CDs that he had bought at conference, and here are the ones that we get to share and listen to. And now it's so easy on BNI Business Builder to just go in and see what's the new information, what's the new conference. I think BNI, what used to be BNI University and now BNI Business Builders, has really given us the opportunity to have so much more content at our fingertips than ever before. And so it's a brilliant place to go and get information. I know one of my favorite conference recordings is by somebody you and I both know, Tom, Lois Weinblatt, and she talks about vision. And so if you're interested, put Lois Weinblatt vision, it'll pull it up. I love the idea of it. And if I could get the entire chapter to listen to this together, or a podcast, or read a chapter from Truth or Delusion or 29% Solution, I think it gives us a huge opportunity to get this learning together. And then I've seen some educational coordinators actually use the educational moment as kind of a, what was your highlight? What was your biggest takeaway? I've also seen them do kind of quizzes. Okay, who knows what the answer to this is? And sometimes there's prizes. If I was doing it today, I would give out socks. Who got the right answer? You get socks. You get socks. Everybody gets socks. But everybody can kind of do it their own. So I love this idea of doing it together.
That's awesome.
Other ideas y'all have? What?
I also think that educational moments should have a call to action to them. I mentioned leave people wanting to know more. But maybe your educational moment is on how to generate referrals. And maybe you're sharing a strategy on proactive referral generation. Send an introductory email to 5 people this week in the spirit of trying to proactively generate an introduction for a fellow member. Give the members something to do, not just something to think about. We create referrals and we support each other through Givers Gain through action, not just through education.
Tom, that's a really good point, but you can also flip it around in that I would use the education moment prequel, I call it. I'd send out the email on Thursday. We meet on Wednesdays. On Thursday, I would send out the email. I want you guys to listen to these 5 podcasts. What have I done with 5 podcasts? I've just created a CEU for each and every one of my chapter members. Okay.
Love it.
So I send that out and I say, I want you to listen. They're all on the same theme. And then I reinforce it with the education moment the following week. So that way we get a CEU and everybody just gets reinforced, because everybody knows, or maybe they don't, but 10%, you only retain 10% of what you hear. So you want to make sure that you reinforce it.
That's why we're here, sharing the best ideas, best practices. I absolutely love that concept.
So Tina agrees, this idea of always have that call to action, or, you know, whether the call to action is pre or post, it gives us the opportunity. So thank you very much, Tina. We get so much that we can do with this educational coordinator spot. And Don, you got some more love, because that's why Don's the rock star. And you know why else Don's a rock star? Because he has a thing for fun and colorful socks too.
That I do.
I'm noticing his tie and pocket kerchief there. Very.
All right. Well, since Tiffany mentioned it, all right, we'll go there.
Oh, there we go. I love the shoes. Yeah, beautiful.
Everything's got to coordinate. So yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to add on this question of where do you get your educational moment ideas?
You're only limited by your own imagination, really, because there are so many resources out there. Now, when I first joined BNI, it was 2010, and there was a lot then. Holy crap, has it exploded since? And even before 2010, you can go business section in the bookstore. You can go any number of things. Anything can be used to turn into an educational moment if you have the ambition and creativity to do so.
And I like what you said earlier, Don. As long as it's business and networking related, sometimes educational moments can get a bit off track. So excellent. And Sarah, I just need to echo your sentiments when you started sharing at the beginning, is that the educational coordinator has the ability to impact the culture of the chapter. In my opinion, culture precedes results. And to be able to impact the culture of a chapter in a positive direction where people are getting more results, I mean, is that not the epitome of giver's gain? Excellent.
Excellent. Very cool. So the next topic I want to bring up, which I know one of your answers is educational moments and delegation. Because if we think about the title of this is the educational coordinator, it's not necessarily the educator. But so what are your thoughts when it comes to the educational coordinator? Nowadays, it's a 52-week commitment. Back in the day, it was 26, but it's a full year now. So what are your thoughts on, I'm the educational coordinator. How much do I present? How much do I delegate?
Well, I told Tiffany before this podcast or this streaming, I'm kind of a control freak, I'll be honest. But when it was 26 weeks, I never delegated it. When it was 52, oh yeah, I took advantage, usually about a couple times, 3 times every 6 months, especially when it was my turn for the 10-minute, the featured presentation. I didn't want it to become the Don show, so I would delegate that out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Don. And can you expand a little bit? I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, why you enjoy being in front of the chapter on the weekly basis. Because I think one of the things that we have the opportunity when we accept a role to be on leadership, we are investing our time and energy, and there's a little something we're hoping to get. And you mentioned that earlier.
Absolutely. I mean, you're visible, you're creating the credibility, by being a good educational coordinator, and then you can turn that into profitability. For example, one featured presentation that I did, I said, look, guys, you've watched me do these educational moments over all these months or year. I said, what do you think I do in court? I break these concepts down for the judge, for the jury, like this, talk in plain language, deliver the message, and hopefully get the action result that I'm looking for from my chapter, from my jury, from my judge. And it was like their eyes were open when I said that. And the next thing you know, I'm getting more and more and more referrals.
That's awesome. I love that.
I got to piggyback on Don's statement because everything that he just said is so true. And the quote that I share with people is, who people perceive you to be in BNI is who people perceive you to be outside of BNI. And if you're meticulous in your leadership team role, if you're obviously committed, you're doing a great job, you have excellent attention to detail, excellent follow through, excellent preparation, you're showcasing who you are as a business professional. And as Dawn said, you're hopefully enhancing your visibility and credibility and not becoming that incredible member. Oh my God, I can't believe they did that. So yeah, Don, spot on. Everybody on the leadership team is showcasing who they are as a business professional or business person. Love it.
Awesome. So I want to share, we do have a comment from Facebook. So Kim Wag-Bailey does an amazing job of getting members to give feedback about their CEUs that they enjoyed and then have them present at another meeting. And so I love this idea of if somebody learned something amazing from the BNI Business Builder, from the incentive programs, from the advanced trainings, if they've gotten this information, kind of share, here was the highlight of what was going on. And I encourage you to also go to the Roomful of Referrals program. I also encourage you to go to the Powering Up Power teams, giving them, the members of the chapter, that opportunity. I know when I was educational coordinator, the first time I did most of the talking, but the second time I did it, I was much more of, okay, who else in the chapter has recently read or listened to something that there's value to share? Let them spotlight themselves as well, get the information to the members. How else are we doing some delegation? Or are we delegating? Or who else do we delegate to?
Right now, being the president, I'm not delegating much other than responsibility for tasks that need to be completed. But as far as education coordinator, I would delegate, like you said, to somebody who had a really great idea or had something really, really important to share that they just couldn't wait. I said, hey, take the moment, go with it. And away they would go. And it usually went very well.
Awesome.
If we were in our leadership team meetings and somebody would make a really great point about something they needed to be discussed, and I thought they would present it well, I would say, would you like to take the education moment next week or the week after that and present? If it was somebody that I thought was going to go on a rant, I would do a one-to-one with them and try. Well, it happens, right? And if I thought they were going to go a rant, I would do a one-to-one with them and then try to present what their issue was in a positive light.
Gotcha.
My favorite delegation tool is when somebody says, you know what we ought to do. I say, great, you're in charge.
I like that too.
I think that's worthy of an educational moment for you. I had mentioned this before, Tiffany, but I think that people who are leading the charge in the chapter deserve more screen time, air time. And so get that person that generated the most referrals, visitors, CEUs, one-to-ones up in front of the chapter and to celebrate who they are, what they've accomplished, but also how they've done it. Secondarily, I also think, and separately, I also think that educational moments can be or should be interactive quite often. Get the chapter members involved, maybe even get them up moving. Recently, I've worked with a couple of chapters who kind of look at their membership list and say, this person generates a lot of CEUs, but I'm really not sure that they're actually executing those CEUs. So I've asked the educational coordinator, ask a few people in the chapter during the educational moment next week, including that person. How many CEUs are you going to be putting in this week? What did they consist of? And what were they about?
So it's kind of almost like a referral reality check for the CEUs.
Exactly. Yes. I think inspiring accountability is important within the organization that we're all a part of. Because without that culture of accountability, right, Sarah, it's not going to work.
We've done we're still virtual. So we've also done, like, we have a member, maybe a new member who's passing referrals. I'm probably going to mention to do this with him next, but the education coordinator will interview someone who passes a lot of referrals, kind of like we're doing a podcast, tell us what you did. What kind of questions do you ask of people? Because if you ask them to just present it, they don't always know what to say. But, if you ask them the questions, you get pretty good answers. It seems to be pretty effective.
Love that idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another way that you can involve your chapter and interact with your chapter as an educational coordinator is, as you're developing these moments, see who in the chapter fits the story that you're trying to tell, and then drop their name. Because now all of a sudden they're like, huh? As opposed to wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole presentation just on how to do a presentation. Sometimes I go to watch people, even in 30 or 60 seconds, I'm like, content's not enough. You got to have a little bit of oomph to the delivery in some way, shape, or form to keep us engaged, whether it's for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, your featured presentation, what that may be. Again, conversation for a different day. The one other thing I wanted to add here, and then I'll make sure nobody else has any ideas on this idea of educational moments and delegation, and that is going to be the use of videos. I know in January or during International Networking Week, Dr. Ivan Meisner usually has a video that he's created to help spotlight what International Networking Week is about. I've had people send me pictures of, hey, your video is playing in our chapter. They pulled something that I had off of YouTube that was in the time frame, and hey, we're letting you be our guest educational coordinator for today. So we do have a bunch of different videos out there, whether it's Dr. Meisner, myself, Tom, and if you're ever looking for videos on a specific topic, let me know. We probably have something somewhere done by somebody in BNI or Ascentive that would be perfect for what you're looking for, and we're happy to share. Or actually, one time somebody wanted something we didn't have on video. Tom, when we talk about the table for 2, reservation for 4, and John Yesner and I are like, okay, we recorded, ended up being about a 3-minute video that they then used the following week in their chapter. So it's like, here's your guest educational coordinator. So there's that as well.
Awesome.
Okay. So last question that I have for us is, what is your favorite part of being a BNI educational coordinator? And I get, like, I don't like favorites, because it's like, do I really have to pick out of all of these things what I love? So I'm not going to limit you to one, though I know we've already covered quite a few things about what we love about being an educational coordinator, but I just kind of want to wrap us up with that conversation. What are some of your favorite parts of being an educational coordinator?
I would say that even though we do have the obligation on a weekly basis to generate at least one CEU, when you're the educational coordinator, you're doing at least double that duty, if not more, to put together those 3 minutes. And I don't know that anyone who's not been an educational coordinator understands just how much energy and effort goes into writing a 3-minute presentation that started as maybe an 8 or a 10-minute, like a podcast. You take that and you got to condense it down to a 3-minute or whatever. It's a lot of work to do it right and to really deliver the message. But it is such a pleasure to do it, to be able to serve your chapter that way, and then, be the attention hog you want to be. You get that attention, okay?
Hey, VCP in front of the room, you're investing your time and energy to create these 3-minute presentations. Then you get the opportunity to be there in front of the room. We do have somebody from Facebook. Tiffany's how to invite 10 visitors to your featured presentation is life-changing. So that's both the BNI podcast and on YouTube, how to get 10 visitors to your next featured presentation. We used to call it a 10-minute presentation, so it's 10 visitors, 10-minute presentation, but it still works, 10 visitors to your featured presentation. Sarah, what's one of your favorite things about being the educational coordinator?
It's selfish. That was my most profitable year in BNI. I got to stand up and be inspiring. I never had to stand up and give people a hard time about, being late or not doing what they were doing. I just got to stand up and be inspiring every week for 3 minutes. And that was my absolute best year in BNI.
Awesome.
And I'm up in front of them all day, every day now, because I'm president, but the BNI was my most profitable year. Education.
Okay, cool. Tom,
I guess it's over to me.
It's over. Well, I can go first if you want me to go first.
No, I'm happy to go. I mean, for me, it's really the opportunity to coach, teach, and train, which, has inspired me and been part of my vision for so many years. These days, I don't do a lot of training, but I do participate in a lot of group presentations that I deliver, and I'm doing a lot of coaching, helping people individually and in small groups, mastermind groups specifically, that we've been creating, take things to the next level. Who I am has not changed. How I execute who I am has adjusted a little bit, but I have to go back to my continued passion in life, the ability to coach, teach, and train.
Awesome. Very cool. And for me, I love learning. How many book club? I'm not really good necessarily about reading nonfiction on my own, but I am really good about being a part of or starting book clubs. I'm in 3 or 4 currently. I don't even remember right now. So I want to get as much information as possible. And every time I read an amazing new book, Tom and I just finished Ikigai. And that's not really business related, but it's just like, oh my gosh, there's all of this stuff. And so whether it's business related or personal, I love learning. And then I'm like super excited because I want to share it with as many people as possible, because if it changed my life, if it made me better, can I do that for others? I mean, I think about when I went through Incentives Ignite Your Business program, I was working 7 days a week from before sunup, way past sundown, all the time, barely making ends meet, running around like crazy. And within a year of completing the Ignite Your Business program, all of a sudden I'm working 4 days a week and 9 to 5-ish. And my husband gets to work his job and come work with me. And it's like my life was dramatically changed. So how many other people can I share this with? Because oftentimes, and we talk about this quite a bit at the mastermind, Tom and I, we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we don't even know, as the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the commissioned agents, what we need to be asking. And I think the educational coordinator role is an opportunity to share with people, here are all these other wonders. I'm giving you the nugget. I'm showing you the trailer. If it was a TV show or a movie, I'm encouraging you to go out and complete it and do it, because it can definitely change your life. My vision is to help people have more money, time, and fun. And if you forget that, it's like here, nice and big for you. My vision is to help people have more time, more money, more fun, so they can live their life they desire. And as the educational coordinator, I feel like each week I get to share a couple minutes of what's made a difference for me. So hopefully that might be able to make a difference for somebody else. All right.
We've covered a lot of ground today. My head's about to explode.
So what I want to do really quickly is just share a couple of resources that we have that we talk about. And then I'm going to come back around to everybody for one last minute. If you have a thought, if people are looking to find you, how do we find you? Something else you want to share for the educational coordinators, and then we're going to wrap it up. So a couple of resources. If you want to hang out on Facebook, we do have a Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/more with Tiffany. And I do often have lives, like this is live streaming, that are great content for an educational moment. We've got videos, we share articles, so there's lots of fun stuff there. If your chapter is looking to power up the power teams, Tom Fleming and I recently just finished powering up power teams. It is done on demand, so you can go and watch it as you want. And the address is down there. Anything you want to say about the powering up power teams, Tom? Because I know that's something they talk about in BNI a lot of times, but we don't quite get there with it.
Yeah, I mean, power teams is the most talked about, but the least understood concept, I believe, in BNI or in networking for that matter. Because I truly believe if people understood the full power of power teams, they devote more time to the development of them. And I stress the word development of them because I think people don't realize when they're forming a power team, when they're forming a BNI chapter, you're going to kiss some frogs, okay? someone that you feel is going to be that prince or that princess is they're just going to be a frog. And it's like building a Super Bowl team. You know, you're going to lose some players, you're going to gain some players. Who the right chemistry, what are the right talents, the skills for your team. It's an evolution. And if you're not sure how to even begin the process of forming a power team, if you're not sure what to do, once you do have the beginnings of a power team, this session that Tiffany is referencing answers all of those questions from our gleaned wisdom, Tiffany and I's, and a few other people that are featured on the class about working power teams.
Sounds to me like that's a perfect opportunity for an educational coordinator to do a few educational moments on that.
And inspire their fellow members to participate, because they will not be able to cover in 3 minutes what we cover in 3 hours.
No.
Well, I think that brings up an interesting point, and so I'm going to take a little Tiffany tangent because I'm in charge and I get to do that. But I remember hearing Dr. Meisner talk quite frequently about the leaky bucket. And the leaky bucket is where one person gets the information, or they get the bucket, and then they pass on the water, and then they pass on the water, and you lose along the way. And I think that happens oftentimes with information. And whether it's, you take the movie and cram it into a 30-minute recap, if you take the book and the Cliff Notes version, I think to me the educational moment is the teaser, it's the overview, it's the recap to get us information to go get the entirety of it, so that we're not saying, oh yeah, I know all about the 10 shades of a referral because I heard a 2-minute presentation on it, whereas in the Ignite Your Business program we talk about it for 20 or 30 minutes. And so I think the educational coordinator, we have to be really careful not to say, okay, now you know it all. It's here's the tip of the iceberg. What do they say? 10% of the iceberg's above the water, the majority of it's below. We want to make sure that we realize, hey, we're getting you going to take the next step. And if you want next step on Ascentive stuff, tampa.ascentive.com, you can find some things there. Let's wrap us up. So I'm going to come around. If you want to just tell us again who you are, where you're from, how we can find you, whether that's email, phone, online, as well as anything else you want to add to this conversation. And we're going to let Sarah go first, then we'll go to Don, Tom, and I will wrap us up. So, Miss Sarah.
My name's Sarah DeMonico. I'm the broker and owner of Remarkable Real Estate, and you can find me on Facebook at Sarah Johnson DeMonico.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add to this conversation, or you feel like you've shared it all?
This was great. This wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and I thought it was really fantastic and interesting. And if you haven't been the education coordinator or you're considering being it again, I would do it because it's a great job. And no reports. You don't have to make any reports.
Thank you, Sarah. How about you, Don?
I'm Don Wheaton. I'm an attorney in the metropolitan Detroit, Michigan area. And I would just point out that, Tom Brady retired, had to spend some time with the kids, and unretired. So, good on him. But, and also he was a Michigan grad. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In any event, thank you very much for this opportunity. If you'd ever told me when I first started listening to podcasts and the CDs back then that I would be on a broadcast with Tiffany Kellogg and Tom Fleming, I'd have said, you're out of your mind. So it's been a privilege to be with you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Don.
Well, I think, Tiffany, you couldn't have identified 2 better participants to join us today for this conversation. As I say, my mind is exploding already with information, just great wisdom shared today by all. Again, my why has never changed. My how has shifted a bit. I still do some group presentations to help organizations out to raise the bar. And I'm also coaching a number of business individuals who are looking to identify or clarify their vision, or they have that vision in place and they just need a sounding board, maybe some fresh ideas of how to get there. I can be reached at Tom F, as in Fleming, at BNI.com, or Tom F at Ascentive.com. ASENTIV. ASENTIV.com.
Awesome.
Hey,
We do
Tiffany,
have.
can I throw in one more thing?
I do just want to say we do have a hashtag Go Blue from somebody on social, so I want to make sure I acknowledge that. Yes, Sarah, go ahead.
I would just say that I also got some ideas from my time in Ascentive. You guys have talked about Ascentive, and if you haven't done, I guess everybody in here has done Ascentive, but I think encouraging your chapter, and we're doing it right now, to take Ascentive is really important because it'll grow their business as well as everybody's in your chapter.
Awesome. Thank you
I
so
would
much.
also add, Tiffany, that you asked us to say where they can find us. BNI Connect. Go out, look at my name. There's where my contact information is.
Yes, love it. And that's always a good thing. Educational coordinators do an educational moment on, do have a BNI Connect, do have your headshot. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother day as well. I do want to say thanks everybody for being here. This is being broadcast live and it's on my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, Tiffany Kellogg, I have a YouTube channel and I actually have a BNI playlist, which includes the how to get 10 visitors to your featured presentation, a couple other inviting techniques, giving a weekly presentation, a featured presentation. I have quite a few videos there on how do you maximize your BNI membership because BNI has done so much for me. I love the opportunity to give back to others. So do check that out. I'm at Tiffany Kellogg on all of our different social medias as well. I want to say a huge thank you to Tom, to Sarah, to Dawn for giving us their time today to be here as part of this conversation as we've explored all about the educational coordinator, the educational moment. And I think the only thing I have left to say is it's time for y'all to go out there and learn more to earn more, huh?
Yeah, baby.
All right. Happy networking, y'all.